All the same stuff. Yeah. I'm saying more time. See it in my phone more than this one. So we started. Yeah. So they're both. Especially near the right. I always enjoyed. Yeah, two kids. Ready? All right, we'll get this going. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Right now we'll go through this bond discussion. Before we get too far, I want to remind everybody that we're a community, and it kills me that it seems like it's tearing apart. But do remember at the very end, we're still Americans. We're still exhausted. Jeff West, we're still a community. Keep that in mind. Vote yes, vote no. Doesn't matter to me. But just keep in mind that we're a community, and we're doing this for the kids. So with that, I'll let you go, Greg.
Okay. You want to do any introduction?
Yeah, I guess we can. We got a couple board members here. Bo Henderson, Eric Kelton, Kelly Midgley. And I don't see Aaron. Aaron will be here about 15 minutes. Aaron Payne will be flying in like usual. Yeah.
Okay. I'm Brad Newenswender. Well, everybody knows board members. Everybody knows Matt. Matt's our board president. I'm Brad Newenswender. I'm superintendent of schools. This is my second year here, but I've lived in the district for 19 years. So my kids went all the way through school here, and I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere in my life. So this is home to us. So I just, there was an opportunity for me to step in a couple years ago when the board had an opening, and you can look at me and tell, oh, he's going to finish his career out here. I mean, that's just kind of where I'm at in my career. But we also have Elizabeth Johnson with us. Elizabeth is with HTK Architects. They're the group that the board contracted with to work with to get us to this point. And on March 4th, if it ends up being a yes vote, then they will see this through. If it ends up not passing, then it was great knowing you, Elizabeth. We'll see you. So anyway, just wanted to make some introductions. So tonight our goal, we don't want to take up your whole evening, but at the same time, we want to make sure you get all your questions answered. But the two biggest things is we want to walk through in detail what the scope of this work is. You guys, you've seen it. I don't want to block views, but what the scope of the ask, what's in this bond. This is a unique bond from a lot of other districts because we're touching 6 different facilities. And it's not like, the last time this community had a bond was of any significant was when they built the high school. So all the conversation was about one building. This is spread across 6 facilities. So we want to walk you through that just to make sure you understand what's in it. The second, we just want to review how a bond issue works. There's a lot of thought out there, a lot has changed, but if you don't go through this very often, it's not complicated. But then again, we just haven't had one for so long. So we want to make sure we get all those questions answered. But first we want to start what brought us here, where we're at tonight. In 22, so about 3 years, a little over 3 years ago, there was a facility study that was done on all the facilities we're going to look at tonight. It took about a year to complete. That was presented to the board in the summer of 23. I stepped in the spring of 23, or actually that winter, as interim superintendent, and decided to stay on because we're all family. And the first thing we did was we put a facilities planning committee together. So we got some business people, some parents, some teachers from each building, some administrators. We put that together. They took that document and they brought some recommendations to the board the summer of 24, which led to a bond election that was in the fall of 24. The winter of 25, that bond did not pass. Don't mean to touch these things, they do stuff. In the winter of 25, the board met in here and had meetings to talk about their goals that they wanted to focus on the next 4 years. One of those goals was facilities, which one of the recommendations was to pull together another facilities planning committee, as well as, so that group kind of regrouped, looked at all the needs in the district. They presented a new recommendation to the board in June of 25. In August, the board decided at August of 25 to host some more community meetings last fall. In December, the board voted to move forward with this bond that we're going to walk through tonight, and the election is next Tuesday, so March 3rd. So that's just.
And if you were at the Sunday meeting, you'll hear me say a couple things twice here, but what isn't on here is why did we wait so long? Well, in a series of events, when I got on, we had a superintendent getting ready to retire. Pat was a wonderful guy, but we didn't really want to start on a bond project or anything like that with the superintendent heading out. We hired another guy who had some bond experience, but he did not work out, so he's not here. And then along came Brad. So why has it been so long? It has been in the thoughts, but the timing's never right. But it's just hard to put something together when you don't have a designated superintendent leader that you know is going to be there for a while. So, and on that, in this facilities committee, I'd like to point out that the people we had on it were people that, you know, the HVAC guy, he's like, here's your problem. You know, this is what we worked on already this year. This is the middle school gym has had this, and this, and this is what's been going on. We had a facilities director for a large school district step in and help us. And, you know, this is what my district goes through. So we had plenty of good eyes outside our own look at it. So I wanted to add that.
So we're going to talk briefly, what is a bond issue? Why do school districts use bond issues? Taxes and mill levies, those can get confusing, but we want to make sure we can answer questions on that. How bidding and contracting of projects work throughout the whole thing. The role of the architect. the role of the construction manager, school board oversight, transparency and community input throughout the whole thing. So those are just some of the things we want to make sure we cover as we go through. So first of all, a bond issue is an avenue that school districts use when they're looking at major school facility projects. We had a good question earlier to the people that thought they started at 5 and not 6, so they were here kind of early. But we got to sit down and visit a little bit. One of the questions is, what's the difference between the bond issue and a capital outlay? Every school district has a capital outlay, and that's used to take care of just routine maintenance type of projects. We purchased buses out of it, technology, so it's just yearly, routine type audit items. Bond issues are for major school facility projects. Those include repairing or replacing aging buildings, improving safety and security, updating classrooms and learning spaces, fixing roofs, HVAC systems, infrastructure, addressing long-term maintenance needs. And you're going to see as we go through all 6 facilities, we're hitting on every one of those. So this isn't, like I mentioned earlier, the last bond, it was on one project. The last major bond this district had was a high school. Or if you go, a lot of people go from here to Lawrence and you drove through Perry, it was one gym and some ball field. I mean, it's a simple, this is what we're doing. Ours is complex because it's across 6 different facilities hitting all those types of issues. And adding classroom space for growth and learning needs, so we've hit all 6 of those.
Before we get into this, and I'm getting to look through here, at the last one on Sunday, this is about the time somebody asked about grants. And I kind of flipped through here. You want to go in depth on the why we put, we'll get to the track, but using the bond as matching funds for a grant. That's why a lot of stuff is in there, is because to allocate that money to a grant, it has to be in the bond that the money comes out of.
So a lot of the grants we look at for when you see a lot of these projects, and it's like 400,000 for this HVAC stuff, or big ticket items. Just about every grant you got to match. And our capital outlay doesn't have enough revenue in it to do kind of matches. So we will continue to pursue grants, which we're going to talk about one here a little bit later. The other challenge our community has, and it's a good problem, but our free lunch population is about 25%. The state average is close to 50%. We don't have a lot of crime. We don't have most grants aren't written to help the Jeff West community. They're written to help high poverty, high crime, and it's a good thing. It's a reason a lot of us love living here. It's why I chose to move here 19 years ago, because I looked at the numbers. That's where I wanted to raise my kids. Most of our grants out there aren't written. We just don't qualify, number one. Number two, most federal grants have been canceled in the last year. There's, FEMA grants. Now there are some out there still, but we don't have the one biggest one we were hoping for. You have to have a minimum of 10 school buildings. We're just not that big. So we continue to pursue grants. There are some things that were on the last bond issue that we since received grants, like playground equipment at the preschool, security film at some of our buildings to slow bad guys down. Those are some of the things that we've been able to take off of it, but we will continue to look for grants But having a bond allows us also to have matching funds, because just about every grant you have to match whatever the grant is. So we're going to go facility by facility. We don't want to go too fast. Listening to me, you're going to be like, sounds like Tom Bodette. You can speed it up a little bit. So I apologize. I do talk slow. But let me know if I can go faster or lower. But Matt and I are just going to walk through these. This is the Ozaki building over that we turned in this year to a preschool. Why a preschool? The number one best dollar investment that you can put in education is in early childhood. Because our learning gap at kindergarten is one of the highest gaps that we have at any grade level. And we spend 12 years trying to close it. And we have creche, about 14 kids per grade level, capacity wise. We have a lot of kids in our community that just don't have access to a structured early childhood program, and we already own the building.
So, and how it all came about was quite a few years ago when I first got on board. Keystone JDLA were using this building, and they were actively searching for a new building. They were looking at the Highland building down in Perry. Well, that time, shoot, what do we do? Now we have a building. Well, we got to looking, we were renting it to them for about the same price we were paying on insurance. So it's kind of washed. Now they were maintaining the building and they were good stewards to the building. But at that point in time, we decided what's going to happen when they do find a place, because they were looking for a place of their own. So they wanted to buy it from us. Well, their offer was way too cheap. I mean, we couldn't accept it. So we started working through it and end up being a preschool. It also gives the city of Ozaki ownership back in our district. Not that they didn't, but it gives them a little pride that they have another building with students in it, in the district again. And I tell everybody that's the happiest place in our district right there. That's a fun place to be. And I'll let Brad tell you why. Why can't you move 5th and 6th there? Why can't you kindergarten there?
So kindergarten on up, we're required to have special. We're also required to specials is like PE, art, music, those types of things. That's just more staff. We also are required to transport. In our preschool, we transport only the kids that have an IEP, and in their individualized education plan, special needs plan, that requires transportation. Other than that, parents drop off. We would love to someday to be able to transport with the number of vans with car seats. So that it made it more efficient to have preschool there instead of moving more grades. We started this year with 42 kids. We are now we have not done kindergarten roundup, and we are up around 61. If you look at the number of kindergartners, the number of first graders, the number of second graders, that means there's probably that number roughly of 4-year-olds, 3-year-olds. And so we have capacity that in 3 to 5 years, we could be at 100 kids in that building. And again, that doesn't include the ones that would be going to creche, because we have between 1st and 2nd grade, we have 140 kids right there. So
yeah, you guys still have Head Start.
we do not.
You don't have Head Start over there.
No. It's a great question. The reason we don't, so we had Head Start here when we did not have early childhood. The reason Head Start did not stay is because they're a federal program, and this is a state-funded preschool, and Feds have a totally different set of regulations than state. You could be cousins and be in a Head Start and be in our preschool, and you're not allowed to be on the playground together. You're not, plus they don't require their teachers to be licensed. And the only way we could count them for funding is they would have to have their teachers licensed teachers, which ours are, and they were like, we can't do that. So they chose to, we actually had a section for them, but what finally, we could have worked out the playground logistics. They finally said, we can't make our teachers be licensed.
That opened 3 rooms down there at the grade school. Because one was for our preschool and the other 2 was for Head Start, so that's 2.
Yeah.
3.
It opened 2 classrooms because our preschool was up here at the high school. Yeah, so our preschool, our special needs preschool was in Perry LeCompte or in Valley Falls. The year I came as interim, the next year we put them in the locker room at the football field. And then last year we brought them up to the high school. So that freed up 2 classrooms, but that allowed our Title I classroom to move out of the basement into one of those, and we're using the other one for special education. So, yeah, so it did allow us to get our. So let's walk through just the work to be done up here. These are the original 6 classrooms, and they have the original 1966 single pane windows. I'll show you some pictures here in a second. So whenever you see the green rooftops, we're replacing all of the wall. They call them PTAC units, like what you see in a hotel room, and they circulate inside air. It's not healthy and they're old. So part of this, and you're going to see this at the elementary and middle school also. We have 2 restrooms that are not ADA compliant. One needs some structural. I'll show that. A new office entrance with every one of our buildings. We're going to upgrade secured front entrances. You will see every one of them has kitchen improvements, and I'm going to jump to the high school and then I'm going to go back so these will make more sense. We operate 3, our newest kitchen is 30 years old here at the high school. The other ones are a lot older. Tim Roberts, our head maintenance director, is back here. We spend a lot of money every year trying to upkeep old kitchen equipment. Part of the bond is to make the high school a centralized kitchen for several reasons. 1, we don't have to keep fixing old stuff. 2, we can be more efficient on what we spend on food because everything comes to one place. And 3, right now, most of we do not have, we can't replicate in 3 buildings, a high school, middle school, and elementary school, a dedicated baker, a dedicated fresh fruit, so all of our food comes in, is heated, and is served. It's expensive, and it's not the kind of quality that we want our kids. So when we can go centralized, bring them all together, cook all fresh food or bakery, fresh meals. We're not heating things up. Our kids get better quality food. We save money. And all we have to do is the middle school is just right down the hill. We're piloting it this year with our preschool. So all of our preschool food is cooked at the high school in the morning, hot boxed over, rolled in and served. So there are some every building you'll see, there are kitchen improvements where we'll still have at the elementary, here on the ninth, I think, 8th, we'll have the chamber pancake feed there. We'll still have stuff there to be able to do some things, but we're just gonna upgrade them, to serve out of. We don't need a 4th kitchen. And actually, so we've turned a lot of school districts around the state that have gone to this, and the quality of the food, number one, but all of our cooks can come together, work together. But HVAC, electrical improvements, technology, just modernizing, the building that has a lot, the boiler, whatever we can to do on it. That boiler, I'm not gonna ask Tim how old it is, but we've spent probably $20,000 in the last 3 months trying to keep that thing up and running. Across the front, again, every building is getting new secured entrances. There are no windows, so you can't see if someone that you don't want is approaching your building.
Now there's no windows.
Now there's no windows. So adding some windows, so visibility to the front. This one does not have, and again, these are just concepts, but we want all 4 of our buildings to have overhangs. So when people come in, kids are standing out there waiting, to at least not be in the rain. It's a lot of umbrellas at the preschool trying to bring kids in, just to have, so that's the Ozaki building. This is a PTAC. This is one of the wall units that's in a lot of our classrooms. They're old, they're outdated, and it's just health-wise, kids are just breathing the same air. Our facilities, planning group, some of them are in here. I know Andy Surratt kind of helped lead it at RNS. He was at the last one, said he couldn't make it here. That group looked at it and said, it may cost a little more, but the health of our kids will be far more beneficial than what they've been breathing for the last 30 years or more.
We had an energy efficiency audit done last year, I think it was.
Last spring.
And it was very interesting to find out how efficient our buildings are. Our elementary school is extremely efficient. For the simple fact is those kids are breathing the same air they were breathing yesterday. It doesn't cycle any new air. So the air quality we found in our buildings was really bad in elementary school, and some of our buildings leak bad enough that, we weren't efficient at all, but they're breathing good air.
The good news on the preschool is we had a hailstorm about 10 months ago. So insurance is putting a new roof on the preschool. So we're able to take that off the list. So we're getting a $170,000 roof for $25,000 deductible. But this is one of the windows. It's a single, the blinds are down, but just the framing around all the windows is starting to separate. We have, just having a pocket every year. This is one of the walls where it's settling in one of the classrooms, or excuse me, this is in one of the girls' restroom down on one end of the preschool. Overall, structurally, it's a good building. This just needs some upgrades.
Keystone did us well. They really did keep up on it. I mean, I don't have terribly bad things to say about it because they did. I mean, they could have just, we're leaving here in 10 years, the hell with it. But they did very well. But a lot of these things here are larger problems that they weren't going to bite off with their budget.
Yeah. So at the elementary school, most of the elementary school, again, secured entrance, update the front of it. Someone mentioned, graphics or branding stuff, just trying to rebrand new, one thing that a lot of people say would be nice if there was a theme to when you went to the preschool, the elementary, the middle school, the high school, when you're upgrading secured entrances, at least have a theme across, you got the same lettering from building to building, same colors from building to building. So they look like, the additional classroom space. This one has, now this building, and Wes is back here, 1930s,
39,
working my way around.
50, 58, and then there was a little tornado came through, so it got rebuilt. 75-ish back there, yep. Then down the other hallway, a couple of 90 and like 93.
So it has about 6 additions to it. This goes back to, we have, especially at the elementary grades, we want to keep classes fewer than 20 per classroom. And we're getting to the point, our second graders are already at 23 per classroom, 3 sections. There was a request to go to 4, but we don't have another room. Now, one thing as we go through this, the same thing the facilities committee was asked, what needs to be addressed in the next 5 to 10 years, or this district will not be prepared for where we're at. The same thing, you only do a bond about once, I want to say once a generation. It's been 30 years. Who knows how many years it'll be till the next one. We're also having to plan for future growth. 5, 10, down the road. So we're not coming back saying, oh, we don't want to be in a situation where Rock Creek is. They passed the bond issue, their enrollment went up, and now their classes are the elementary 26, 27, and they didn't. So we're,
Do you want to explain to them, about how the county calculated the growth and?
so there's 2 companies that do enrollment projections. Kansas Association of School Boards, with cuts, they quit doing that. And then there was the Jones Institute out of Emporia, they no longer exist. So when I called the county and asked, do they provide enrollment projections? And they said, we only look at county stuff. We don't do things by school district. Now, they just completed a big study. I think they just posted it. But the one thing that they told me is, what we can share with you is, you look at the west side of the lake as compared to the east side of the lake, and the number of permits that we issue are significantly higher on this side of the lake from the other. I mean, we have more activity if you base it off permits, plus, and it's not going to be the same thing every year, but, and again, I want to value your time. You look like no one's nodding off yet, but I don't want to talk too much. But we have, the board used to be able to control out of district students. The legislature took that over and now says, if you have space in a classroom and someone out of district applies, unless they didn't behave in their district and you have to prove it, you have to take them. So 20% of our students, and we've always had out of district students, because we have a lot of people that work here, maybe live 3 miles away in the Seaman district, but they're alumni, we've all school districts around us have always accepted out of the district students. It's just now you can't say no. And they only wrote that because some legislators in Johnson County that wanted their kids to go to Blue Valley, and Blue Valley said, we don't accept it. And they said, well, we'll fix that. They changed the law. So,
And the students do get calculated on the September 20th. There is a count that goes out. So
so we get the
We do.
state funding for them. They don't pay property taxes, but we do get the state aid that follows, to educate them. But we have kids that live in our district, go to other, I mean, it's just, but I just wanted, when we talk about adding classrooms, we had 23 new out of district students this year. And over the summer, we had 28 kids, new kids move in. So, but anyway, you'll also see all of these rooftop units. Same thing with the elementary, getting rid of all of those wall P-TAC units and going back with rooftop units. If the committee was like, if you're gonna spend all the money to replace all of those old P-TAC units, go to rooftop units and bring in fresh air to make it healthier buildings for our kids. The elementary is probably in the most dire need of electrical upgrades, fire alarm. Right now, the fire alarm, it'll ring a bell, but it won't notify anybody in the county. It's an old antiquated fire alarm system, and if it went off on a Friday night, I hope the neighbor's up to call it in, because no one will know until a neighbor calls it in. But there's just a lot of old wiring, panels, systems in that.
Brad, you said that the last bond was 30 years ago,
The last major bond,
because we did one,
the,
Scott Myers was here, that's,
yeah, that was for the locker.
that was like light poles at the football field, the locker room, but to do anything for all the other facilities.
tech, it was tech too, so.
Yeah, there was some technology, but as far as facility type, what we're asking here. And this side, I think that one extended the bond like $3 million for 4 more years. I was on that committee. Yeah,
On the elementary school, it already has a canopy, so what's wrong with just fixing the old canopy instead of putting a whole new one there?
we can't. Again, these are just concepts.
That's why I'm
They
asking.
just wanna upgrade the concept. They could use the same poles, dress it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing. Now, this one out here has got a lot of rust and a lot of the columns are breaking up, but yeah, these are just concepts. But upgrading, front canopies,
I mean, repairs are a lot cheaper.
yeah, it doesn't have to look like that. But if it's bad enough, like the high school, sometimes it's cheaper just knock it down and put something new instead of spending all the, but yeah, these are just concepts.
Well, I know, I
Yeah.
get that, yeah.
Yeah,
So what, the empty classrooms in Ozaki, what are you doing with those?
so right now we have 42 kids. Next year, we're looking at 60, and we haven't done roundup. In 3-4 years, we should have that whole wing full of 3 and 4-year-olds.
But to move kindergarten up there, like you were saying earlier, or any other, you would have to provide specials and.
Yeah. And now you could, if you moved a third age level over, then who are you eventually gonna bring back? So right now, the most efficient group are the ones where you don't have to transport the most, you don't have to provide all of the specials. It'll take, when the board looked at that, probably 3, 4, 5 years to fill it to capacity. The board is also going to start discussions this month, next month. When Keystone offices move out, the district office rents from the bank. but we're paying rent down there. And when Keystone offices move out the front part, we could move possibly the district office over there. I can now be an administrator, which prolongs the time we need to get to the side where we need a building principal. We now have more adults, so we'll be able to take up a lot of that space up front.
And Brad, you said currently at 21% out of district students?
On average, about 19 to 20, so I round up to 20.
You know how- That's about what it was when I was on board.
Yeah, we're pretty steady,
consistent.
yeah, we're pretty steady with our percentage. We don't really bring in more kids that come in faster than kids that move in. Kids moving in are at a lot faster rate. Now, if you go to our website and go to enrollment and click on non-resident out of district, click on that. It'll show you on there kindergarten through 12th grade, about 6 of those classes, we don't accept out of district students. We mark it as a 0 because we're out of capacity. It's now, if you move in, we've got to take it. But we don't accept out of district students in about 6 of our classes because they're already at that desired where we don't want to go over, knowing if someone moves in, you got to put them in there.
So how many kids in grade level, in elementary do you have?
Depending on the class, per grade,
Yeah.
around 60 kindergartners, about 70 first graders, about 70 second graders. Is it third grade? That's our
Third grade, 68, 69.
68.
We have a new one coming next week.
Yeah, so, and this year, since school started, we had 13 kids move in. Now we've had 5 move out. So there's always a revolving door,
I have one there.
but we're adding more to the denominator than we are the new, as we're going. Yes.
Now,
What is your optimum size class? In these
23.
23?
And you'll know this, kindergarten, first grade, you want to keep them lower. But you get into second grade, third grade. So when we look at setting our capacity, we look at 22 to 23. And when we get there, we mark it as a 0. Or even if we're close, because there's a good chance we're going to have someone move in over the summer. But we have to set those by statute. We have to set them by July 1, post them out there and accept out of district applications. And then we have to approve them by June 1, we have to post it. And then we have to notify the parent by June 30th if we have kids move in over the summer. Now, you got to take them, but they set it as a June 1st date. It'd be nice if we could know in August, but
if you need more room at preschool after John Dewey, these church would be open.
yeah.
People, I don't know who's Redfield.
Well, we've been having conversations with Keystone about what they think. We're not looking at acquiring another facility, but if we need space for something, we know it's available.
We looked at it years ago, and at the time, the board decided that we didn't want to take on another asset that leaky roof we got enough problems with buildings.
So let's look at the middle school. This is the building that has, if you've been in it or not, it's the one that has the most work. To begin with, for security reasons, this is the most blind spot of any of our buildings. Cause the office currently is right here, and this is all library. So our office faces the commons, and the whole front entrance and 2 ways to get in, for security reasons, it's drawn up as the worst secure building design you can imagine. Because a bad guy can come in and go down either hall before. Now, we have cameras, multiple cameras at every building. But we don't have someone staring at a camera all the time. And a person with ill intentions is not gonna push a buzzer.
But they have to get in. I
Yeah,
mean,
aren't
every
they
time you push that
security?
buzzer, somebody pushes and unlocks the door.
Right.
If they shoot through the door, the glass door, and walk through.
Through the glass, that little window on the door. I mean, it's not a big window.
So they can go in behind somebody who already pushed the button.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that too.
yeah.
They
It's-
just follow them behind
Yeah.
them. If a bad dude wants.
They can also go in through the gym door too on the side, so why don't we secure that too?
We do, we have them all locked, we're getting the
What if they
secured film
push
to
the
slow
door?
them down. But this,
They're gonna get in.
okay,
I mean, I get securing
I get
the
it.
doors, I mean, that's good.
but in all of our community meetings, secured entrances was the number one thing that people wanted to have. With this project, it's getting rid of a classroom and swinging the office around, dedicating what the entrance is. That's where everyone comes in, and where the office can see people coming in. Is it a fail-safe? Nothing is. That's why we're doing secured film on all.
And that was a grant too.
Yes, doors, it won't stop them, but if you can slow them down, that just buys you that much more time.
So besides moving to the 5th and 6th grade door being the main entrance, which it currently is, but when this addition, what's gonna happen with that 7th and 8th grade door, entrance, exit, whatever, where we have it open for the games and stuff right now?
Well, when the kids are not in there, we may have to, for like games and stuff, move everything over to this side. Those are just logistics that as soon as next Wednesday, the architects, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, again, these are all concepts, the architects, that's why it takes 8 to 10 months to come up with all the logistics. Right now, these are just colored in. There's no design to them yet because it's too much money to spend without a bond. But then they start meeting with every building, with the staff, with everybody to start working out all those logistics. So these 2 classrooms are the 2 where the floor's heaving. The foundation is level around all 4 of them, but the floors are heaving up. There was no concrete blocks in here where they're covered. Concrete block wall in between, major cracks in them, and it was pushing. This is up above the ceiling tile in those classrooms. All of where the roof trusses are sitting on the outside wall, it's popping all the concrete, landing on top of the ceiling tile.
That particular piece there, about that big, was sitting on a ceiling tile over top of a teacher's desk.
But so these classrooms, you have to tear a wall out to get in because they need to be dug down about 30 inches. Repacked, everything and put back. Barry White, anybody that knows Barry, owner of 5 Star Masonry, graciously came in this summer and tore that wall out to relieve the pressure and build a temporary wall that'll float until the floors can get taken care of. We were just getting too concerned that that pressure on that outside wall was just getting too great.
And this is a more scientific project than just tearing out and digging out. They're gonna have to really figure out the source of why. Well, we know why, the water, but they're gonna have to figure out the drainage and possibly or drill around it. I mean, it's gotta be fixed where it doesn't happen again, and or figure out why it happened and make sure that we resolve that before we fix all this. I mean, Barry was wonderful when he came out and looked, and he's really good at picking out why this moved here and how this moved here. It's beyond me. I don't get it, but so much of this isn't just dig it out. You know, we dig into it, we don't know what we're going to find. That could be all black dirt underneath there. I mean, nobody knows. We don't know what's underneath there until you dig into it. You know, so a lot of these projects have built in where it could go over. So
Another part of this, it's hard to read back here, but all the way around between the middle school and the high school, because the high school sits about 25, 28 feet higher than the middle school, they're gonna have to install some kind of a drain system to divert the water that's coming down from the high school into this. The band room back here, these offices, all of these places on that side, so it would be the north side of the middle school. You can stand there and you can see how it's wicking the water up through the cinder blocks. And again, that's why it's good for you to be here, because we're going building by building. There's just a lot of things that, again, all these rooftop units are going to replace all those classrooms, have those wall PTAC units. So, 4 classrooms here. The reason it makes sense right now to put them there is we got to tear this wall out to get all of those. So if you're going to tear the wall out, that makes the most sense. 1 classroom gets filled with the math classroom that we lose here. The other one is the art room that's currently out in the VOAG building, because we want to expand our career tech ed, VOAG. We move them over, so we're really just picking up 2 classrooms in the middle school. There's out here, you can hardly see it. We have a pickup zone along there, and there was a request at some of them that during rainy, cold, we don't want to treat them like cattle, but can we at least have something when they're standing there during the pickup line, keep the wind and the rain off of them? So that's what this is, a canopy to go along that, just like you'd see at a park, so the kids can stand under while their parents are coming along and pick them up. This also has a lot of electrical. Tim Mooresdorf, M&M Electric here, he was on that planning committee, and he's like, you've got electrical panels that have they're old, and they somewhat of a fire hazard, but a lot of them are. The high school actually has some of the least amount. It's the newest, and we have enough space. I mean, we're not busting at the seams here. But this is what I mentioned earlier. To go to a centralized kitchen, you've got the middle school right here and the elementary right around the corner. Instead of upgrading all those old kitchens, put the money into going to a centralized kitchen. We're going to need bigger freezer. We're going to need storage, stuff like that. But then we can bring all of our cooks together in the morning, get them all trained. It's not that we need fewer. We're actually short. If anybody has time and they would we've got applications out there for,
Short
food, we're short to food service, but it allows us to be more efficient, get people trained, and our kids are gonna eat a lot better. And we don't have to spend the kind of money that we do on packaged stuff, where we can buy more fresh because we got everybody dedicated. And instead of replicating 3 kitchens, and we didn't need a 4th, just go into a centralized where they can work together. Then the boxes are going as far as we're going. Keep the food, but
And we have, how many freezers in the district?
then
Five headaches. I mean, there's always something wrong with one of them.
And now I even count preschool also.
Well, okay, but, you know, you think about how much money's sitting in one of those freezers. You know, Tim has been frantic before.
I've been band-aiding for 2 years.
Yeah.
so, but again, we have some mechanical stuff at Bell Systems that need to be upgraded here. Not as much here because, you know, you think 30 years, but again, with technology and stuff, so the biggest thing here is we've never had, air conditioning down this wing, all the locker rooms in here, area, parking lots, the parking lots are, 30 years old and the cracks in them are getting to the point where we're spending as much I'm not gonna ask him, I'm trying to think because I have to budget for it. But the amount of money we spend on parking lots, trying to fill cracks and redo all of that, but the high school parking lot is in the worst shape. And again, new secured entrance, again, just a concept, but this one here is the worst. It's, we might be able to use, I think this kind of has a visual of using the existing. I don't know if Barry White can redo them, but upgrade because we have a visual here. This is the VOAG building. I'm going to show you a better picture of it. But really in the VOAG building, which is just down the hill and behind the middle school, I don't know last time I had anything done to it. I'll show you a picture of it here in a second. But really just facility upgrades, a lot of electrical upgrades. It needs a new ventilation system to circulate air through there. Exterior metal panels. This is what it currently looks like. It needs new windows. It's pretty.
If you had shop class in there, it looks exactly the same when you left.
But this is an example, we don't know when we get into windows and, you know, whether there's mold, whether there's just unknown behind everything. But trying to dress it up for the kids and community, this has the least amount of work to do to it. But most of it's electrical, just getting it cleaned up, just make it
In
where our kids are.
This houses 2 classrooms. The one on the far is where he was saying was the art. This
Middle school art.
and then this is the VOAG. So on rainy, snowy days, the kids get to walk over to there.
So the track, it's a big circular parking lot. It's over 30 years since it's been redone. These are that's my foot. Those are just the types of cracks that are old. You go all the way around it. It's been over 30 years. So going to, from 6 lane to 8 lane, why? Being able to host events for our own kids. Our middle school track meet got canceled this year because school districts are choosing to go other places. And last year, we just don't have, but anyway, this is one of those, the board went to the city. City council, I'm trying to think of when, a couple weeks ago. We asked the city, so if you know, the 2 years ago, the city had a grant to do sidewalks all around town. Last year, they put that $650,000 grant towards the library. We approached the city a couple weeks ago because this track gets walked on every day by community people. So we approached the city, would they dedicate that grant? Now we have to match it.
It's a community block grant, CBDG grant. It's, the library has done it. They're the beneficiary of it this year. And those girls have raised a lot. It's a very impressive, group, but they got together. The match is they'll match up to $650. And because this is open to the community, 24/7 essentially, we do shut it down for 4th of July and stuff, but it qualifies as a something that we can use for a grant. So I would love, and Brad, and there's been talk between, Andy talked about it last meeting before he, I asked him if he was coming to this one, he said no. So, but I asked him if I could talk about it from what he said. He would love to see this be taken on like the library was taken on, where community donates and puts into it. And I think it can be done. If we raise money, any money we raise towards this is less money that the bond gets spent. We don't have to spend all the bond money, so any money that we can save is great, but it has to be on the bond in case we need it for matching funds.
So immediately, so they held off, the city held off and said, well, because if the bond does not pass, we don't have $650,000 right now. But if the bond were to pass, then we'll go back to the next meeting and hopefully they'll dedicate that. That's that much less. So any money we don't, the 17.5 is a not to exceed.
Is that clear to the public that in a bond issue, there's a dedicated amount of money that has to be assigned to receive the bond, whether it gets spent or not, because you can't, you have to use it in a certain way. Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yes.
Does the public realize that?
So
it's not an arbitrary, we'll do what we want with the money.
Right. So everything in the scope of work is what you can spend bond funds on. Now, in the spirit of that, if we're in the VOAG building and we start finding, because the middle school, we don't know what we're going to find. But these projects and the estimate from the architects and their engineers is around 17.5 million, and they built in contingencies, because we'll talk about the timeline here. We won't have the final punch list done for 2.5 years, because that's construction. But the board can't spend over, because we're only going to get $17.5 million. If it's under, whatever is not spent can be used to keep the mill levy down, to help pay the bond off. But the board can't do this and then say, well, we're going to go build a new transportation building out somewhere, because that's not on the scope of work. It's got to be spent on whatever the scope.
Because I think there's been some mistrust out there between the public and the powers that be, whether it's the board or the people who will ultimately bid it, some mistrust about how is the money really going to be used. It,
Yeah.
it really is dictated how it
We'll talk
must be
about the
used.
process here in a second.
Yeah.
man.
So Sunday I asked if there was money left over from the bond. And you said the board could vote how to put that money, they could vote to put it back towards the debt, or they could vote to go ahead and work on something else that's within that scope.
Yes,
And so then I said, could that be used to build a new softball field or fix the softball field? And you said no. But that's not true because you list facilities. So it could be used for the softball field, correct?
no, the softball field is not,
On the scope.
so if you look at the question, it lists the places. The preschool, the elementary school, the middle school, the high school, the VOAG, and this track complex area. Softball field is not listed on there. Baseball field is not listed on there.
So
Yeah,
improvements and expansion to the district's athletic, maintenance and transportation facilities.
That's this facility here.
So that needs to be put out to the public, that.
Yeah, that's,
So that's
good. Yes, because it's just the track athletic facility. That's at the transportation, yeah,
Has to be on the scope.
Yeah.
Has to be on the scope.
yeah. Softball, yes, that's a great point because they couldn't say, well, let's do new backstop at the softball field.
Or they can't go out and do the practice field. That was the practice field at that facility. Could they?
Probably not, because it's not part, well, it is part of the facility, but I don't know of anything that,
Practice field.
yeah, we got bigger problems than that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm-
You know, I'm just
Yeah.
saying because.
Yeah, but no, yeah, it's a good point.
Getting a fine line.
Yeah, because you can't, yeah, you can't just put a blanket and other facilities. You can't do a blanket. You gotta be,
So is that
yeah,
being too attention?
yeah, the track athletic,
Athletic facilities in my opinion.
yeah. At the track, but that complex, so that's a good, yes.
So you're saying the city was able to apply for a grant, sidewalks, how come you can't apply for a grant?
That's what this one is. That would be that grant.
Why can't you apply for one through the school?
You can, but we don't have the matching funds. In our,
What would it take to get the matching
Yeah, why
fund?
couldn't
Is
you-
there a price on that?
They got the 650.
it's.
We don't have $650,000 in our capital outlay to do a match of a lot of a grant like that. But if the city applies for it and we get the bond, because this is a city,
The city facilitates the grant. But not saying that we can't privately fundraise for it. I mean, we're not saying the library did it. It can be done. You know, it's not saying that it can't be done. The library did do it. It can be done.
If the city was able to do that for sidewalks.
The city, well, the city paid for that. They paid for the sidewalks. They paid their 50% on the sidewalks. But the library, for instance, is,
How is the city able to do that? Did they budget for that?
yeah,
Can you budget for that in your outlays?
well,
there'd be too many things we couldn't fix if we had to set aside $650,000. It's just too big. Because we were talking this earlier, we get about, out of our capital outlay, we get about $850,000 a year. And that is used for, just routine type. We purchase our buses, our computers. Tim knows we spend probably $350,000 a year just fixing kitchen stuff, HVAC, you know. So we wouldn't be able to set aside of that $650,000 to do a match.
So if you are awarded a grant, do you have to come up with that money all at once to match it?
Well, so
Or
if
can you budget over so many years and have a savings account for that, and then when you get that amount
I believe,
saved, then you can apply for the grant?
I believe, and I don't want to misquote because the city had their money when they did it. And the library had theirs, but I think you have to have it when you apply. I'm almost for certain you do. But once again, there is nothing saying this community can't fundraise for it.
Do you think you could budget that 650,000 in 2 years, 3 years, or? Just asking.
It probably, if we had to set aside capital outlay, I'm just, cause I don't know what might come up.
Sure.
Just like the preschool, there's $25,000, we got the roof. I would say it would take, to set aside, it'd take 5 to 6 years.
Okay.
Because of all the other stuff
Sure.
that we have to, that we pay out of.
If you had a big
Yeah.
picture of that.
And grants aren't a guaranteed thing, and I don't want to get too far into how this community falls for it, but the city has paid a government assistance program to come in, and they contested the census to get us down to this number and the whole 9 yards. So the city paid, I believe it was 10,000 for this study to be good for a couple of years. And off of that study, Susan, Jerry, sidewalks, and the library have been done. So the city brought in close to 900,000 in funds outside the community that came here through different grants. So the grants are being used. It's just hard to find one that's the right niche for this. And this is the right niche, but once again, nothing is guaranteed and nothing is set in stone with grant. But
If the city's got a $650,000 grant that they're willing to use toward this track, does this bond cover the 650?
it can, since
It's
it's
in- it's in the
It can be
bond.
used as the match,
at the map.
Yes,
which means that's
then we're there.
650,000 less
Exactly.
that could be used to help keep bond debt down.
So we don't have to save for 6 years to get it while the costs to improve go up, brought it built into the bond.
I think
right.
you're in.
And let's say you go with a 10-year bond and it's less. And accumulate that bond money, would that be a savings?
So you can't,
Yes.
yes, so you can't accumulate. So whatever's on this scope of work, you have to spend the money on that scope of work. You can't pass a bond issue and say, however, we're gonna hold $800,000 back for so many years. It's gotta go for the project that you did. Now, the good thing is when our bond was paid off, and when our bond was paid off in 1819, I don't know if you guys can see this, but we were at 53 mils, 53, 51, then it dropped to 42. There was some more money trickled in, but the project had been done years earlier. So there's $674,000 sitting in the bond fund that can't be used by statute except for another bond. So it's just been sitting there. The good thing about that is those first principal and interest payments that this district will have, we already have $674,000 in there. So it's good to have money in there because it keeps the mill levy down when you start a bond issue. If there was no money in there, you would have to levy more in the early years to make those first principal and interest payments. So the money sitting there in there right now helps keep that mill levy down, but the district can't use that to spend on something else because it wasn't in the original bond. So it has to sit in there to be used So that money's been sitting there for 8, 9 years.
And we do accrue interest
Yeah,
on, if it does pass, we do accrue interest on the money coming in, which is a pretty substantial amount too.
So that money you're talking about there was from when the bond was paid off on the high school.
yeah, and then there was a little bit left over when they did the football field lights in that locker room. I think they extended it. Were you still on the board, Rena? When they extended the bond?
I think so.
You might.
Yeah,
I just moved here.
yeah, I was on.
I'd been here like 2 years and someone saw me in the football stadiums and said, hey, would you be on a bond committee? And I'm like, sure. So, but I was on that one and they'd asked the board to not let it drop off and just extend it a few years in order to do some technology, football and things like that. And then it dropped off here. But there's always a little bit because, and they paid it off early. So then there was some money still left in there, still came in, and so it's been sitting in there for.
I guess the question I had is how come if there's a water issue caused by the high school with runoff running down the hill, why can't you use some of that money to fix that?
Because it wasn't in the original bond, so that was not in the scope of work to be able. Because when you levied that money, it was to build a high school and do certain things. That would be like saying, okay, we're going to take some of this money and go do something on the softball field. And that wasn't on the list. So that's why that money's got to sit there.
It seems to me that this building created the issues
Yeah.
at the middle school.
If they would
The
have,
construction wasn't done correctly, or
if they would have thought about that at the time and said, you know what, I think that this building's going to create water issues and they put that in the bond, they could have.
it's not too hard to see that. I mean,
Yeah.
You pay the parking lot and run off the building, above the building.
I'm kind of curious, what kind of interest we are being paying on this? You have any idea?
I could call real quick and talk to our bond advisor, cause he's sitting there. I don't know what the interest is right now. But, he told me if you have one of those kind of questions, give me a call. But,
Oh, necessarily, I'm kind
well, no, but it's good. I was thinking,
of 5%.
Elizabeth, do you remember? Or-
texting Clayton right now.
Okay, all right, you text Clayton, but no, that's good. But as Matt said, so the way I'm gonna back up, so they will go sell the bonds out on the market. The money comes here and we have to have a bond advisor, a bonding company, and they oversee all that. While that money sits here and we're doing all, it's also generating revenue that can go towards these types of projects. So, and it's,
Do you see a chance of the bond getting paid off sooner than 25 years? Is there a chance?
so I will tell you my experience. And then most of us won't be around, you know, I hope so. My dad just turned 89. So I,
Dealing with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
And me.
so a bond advisor is required to tell you what it's going to be for the duration of it. This bond, the 1995 bond was 56 mils. Which, I mean, not the bond, but the total mill levy of the district was at 56. It got down to 51 for the same bond, and it was paid off early. So as more people move in, they're helping, but but the bond advisor can't tell you that you're gonna have growth. So they gotta go over whatever the last 20 years, but most districts, it'll start going down. And most districts, if you don't have any reason to extend it for other projects or whatever, if they don't roll it into another one, then they typically get paid off early because you have more people paying on it in the future. There's 285 school districts in Kansas. 183 of them have a bond passed at some point. I think there's 13 other districts have a bond on the ballot next week. So it's just, not that you want stories, but we played at Marysville the other night, basketball. One of our parents was talking to a relative there and was like, and your facilities are nice. And they said, well, we just had a bond issue. And they were like, oh man, we're going through one right now. And they said, oh, ours passed by 12 votes. It was ugly. I mean, it was just, I mean, it's just natural because it's, you know, it's not right, doesn't for everybody. So that's why we just want to make sure everybody knows what's in it. So I want to back up. So this one would be 13 meals over 25 years. Again, the bond advisor's got to calculate it. He gets that from the county. We have on our website, when you go to bond, under documents, there's a document that will give you more details. I'm just kind of giving, you know, what about if I have dry land, if I have crop land, if I have, you know, it's on there. What you need to know is what's my assessed valuation. So look at your tax document, because assessed is not your appraised, what you could sell it for. So if you find that thing will help you, but our current district mill levy is 41.6. The state average is 56. Most, like I said, most school districts have some form of a bond. So that would put us at 54.6. So just county average, and again, the county looks at the county. They're not looking at our school district, but the average assessed value in the county, again, we're west side. I'm just telling you, there's a difference between west side and east side. Just by direction. So that would be $299 a year, 24 or 25 a month, or 82 a day. That's on just the average assessed value of a home in the county. Now, average is average. That means there's higher, there's lower. I will say the poverty rate in Oskaloosa is higher than the poverty rate in our school district. That's, you know, again, we talked about there's reasons why some grants we don't apply for. We just, but so.
While he's flipping slides there, Elizabeth sent this from Clayton. Financial planning cost assumed at 5.5 rate, but today's market is closer to 4.75. Is what today's. But caution on the side of caution.
Did you figure in there anything on if you lose a business or anything because of the tax rate going up? If a business shuts down, you're going to lose that money.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I'd almost bet you if this goes through, this co-op elevator will shut down. And they pay probably one of the highest taxes in the city of Meriden.
And the Apple Market's about to close down too.
They're not in
It
this.
already did.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. But who knows that?
I'm sure everybody in here is probably more concerned about the mill levy and understand that you need all this. But it's a matter of whether we can afford it or not.
And
And
that,
that's, these days,
And that's what it comes down to.
I know, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, yeah.
Well, and a lot of the fancy stuff you on there, do you really need the fancy stuff? What about just having, the stuff that you really need for right now?
It sounds like they need it all, but
Well, I don't think they need a
it's been
painted
30
building all
years.
fancy and all that.
I'm not bragging, but I built the track and the football field here. So
can you tell us what year it was then?
It was late 70s or 81 or 82, something like that.
I think you're a little younger than our coaches have been trying to figure out, we're like, who has coached here the longest? And they're like, it was that way when
I am one of the current high school track coaches. I'm also a graduate here, class 92. I remember it being re-asphalted when I was in high school. In fact, my graduating class had graduation on there with chairs that sunk about an inch into the new asphalt on the track. They've never, as far as I know, talking to other coaches, tore out the old base and put it back in, and it's just had the layers of the laminate over the top of the rubberized surface for it.
So here's a timeline, and then I don't have anything until 7:30 in the morning, so I'm not rushed to leave. So the election is March 3rd. We actually have board meeting on the 4th. We have it the first Wednesday. If it were to pass, immediately the architects start that whole design meetings with every building, our maintenance staff, our teachers. Really, that's when they get into the details. Right now, everything's conceptual. While they're doing that, the board will put out a request for qualifications to a construction management firm. That takes about 45 to 60 days. That actually has to go to the state. They vet, they approve, they make sure, they send to the board, 5 to 6, they choose, and they have to interview and then select a construction management firm. They're the ones that work hand in hand with the architects, and they send out, they do all the bidding. They have to follow statute. Everything goes to bid. One thing we will do, because we have just about every kind of, from concrete to HVAC to electrical in our community, we will do what's called a preferred list that every company in our school district gets to bid. Now, they still have to be the lowest bid, but at least we want as much of
Qualified.
lowest qualified. I actually, at a prior district, I was superintendent, we turned down a roofing company because of all the complaints that we heard from prior, so they gotta be qualified. But the construction management firm oversees all that. They bring everything to the board, and the board has to approve them. Bids typically will not be ready to go out until next November, December. It'll take the architects, there's a lot, when you look at every building and all the scope of work, there's a lot of details. Again, this isn't, I'm not picking on Perry, it's just because I drove by it all the time and I saw the work. It's not like we're doing X, Y, and Z. There's just a lot to this. Bids go out November, December. And most major projects won't be able to even start until the summer of 27, because a lot of the stuff you can't do when the kids are in the building. Some things you can maybe do some stuff over spring break, but major stuff. So it's, and it'll continue through 28. That's just the way construction is.
Not to be negative or anything, but if it doesn't pass, then what happens?
We have capital outlay. We continue to look for grants. I mean, that's where we are today. we won't be able to, we don't have the money to do a consolidated kitchen. You know, there's just too many things that are big ticket items that we're just.
I don't know what you do with the middle school.
We
Yeah.
continue to spend money on Band-Aid fixes.
Yeah. Like I said, about at least a third of our capital outlay is for Band-Aids right now. And long term, that frees up a lot of our Band-Aid stuff, so we can start building a more healthier capital outlay reserve to be able to get us over the next several years, because we spent, like I said, $350,000 on average over the last 5 years. That's about on average what we spend on fixing old, and so much of our stuff you can't find parts for. We had a community meeting Sunday at the middle school. I called Tim to help me get in. He was busy because I tend to set alarms off. So I didn't want to set the alarm off right before everyone's going to come in. Brenda Dooley, our principal, pulled up and I said, "Oh, great." I walk in with her and I says, "I was waiting to someone let me in." And she goes, "Our alarm system doesn't work anymore anyway because we can't find parts for it." I know Tim tried to find something off eBay and. Oh, you found one.
Just gotta hook it up.
Look, I shouldn't have said that our middle school alarm is not working. I was like,
Good thing you found.
well, but I mean, and there's not a negative Nelly question in this, because this is a big ask. I mean, and it's not good for everybody. We had one over here, so there's not any.
I was just trying to figure, because you said a third of our capital outlay is going towards the fixes,
Yeah,
the patching stuff. What are we not putting money into because we're having to spend it on that? Do you have any, I don't know if they're specific, but I mean, what are we not doing because we're having to do this?
Capital
That we
outlay
could
doesn't
be
have to be
free.
used every year.
yeah,
They can build.
yeah. So
It doesn't have to-
capital
yeah, capital
outlay,
can build.
you can carry a balance over in capital outlay. The struggle with, I mean, when you look at, you know, other than the middle school has the most structural. If we had to prioritize, we don't, you know, we've got an engineering report that Barry White, 5-star masonry, had some structural engineers come in. If it weren't to pass, first thing we're gonna have to do is put that thing out for a bid, because we have no idea what it's gonna cost to fix those 2 rooms, and we don't gain 1 inch of spec, you know, and we're still breathing old. It just, so, hey, it's a good question, is you just keep putting off.
Well, we got maintenance people, why can't we fix it, some of this stuff ourselves?
Oh, we do.
I mean, fix it, not band-aid it, fix it.
Volunteer.
They don't have parts.
One is
Yeah,
parts.
infrastructure.
We were lucky enough to hire someone that is a good HVAC person. He's saved us probably $40,000 a year just because he knows how to do some of those technical things. Finding someone, he was a diamond in the rough, but he spends all his time fixing old stuff that it's still hard to find parts. So, well, they do a great job, but when you think about the square footage of space in this district, and we have 2 people. The director's sitting back there, and the other one, that's a lot of square footage and a lot of electrical, technical, most of the stuff we have to hire out. And that's where that $350,000 goes to having to bring people in, because they also have to fix unplugged toilets. They have to fix when the milk refrigerator at the preschool goes down and we've got all, it's just, so, it's a concern. It's just a lot of FMF certificates.
What is the priority list of what gets done first? So that way if we get close to exhausting funds, we can start knocking things off of, this is maybe not something we can tackle this bond.
I can't speak for the whole board, but I'm guessing we'd start at the middle school. Get that structural
I mean, we
under
know-
control.
Yeah, some of those,
'cause
that
I-
structural and.
Once again, we don't know what's there. I mean, that's the one that's scary. I was gonna say scary, but it is. We don't know what's underneath there. We don't know what we're getting into. I know if you flip a meter pit over in Meriden and look in there, there's water in it. And you don't have a water break, the water table's that high. So who knows? You
But
just
that's
don't
the
know.
thing is, what is the priorities besides, we know the middle school is probably top priority. What are, or maybe what's at the end that's gonna get is first out, what's first out? If they're getting tight on budget.
I'd have to say preschool probably too on now, because of the problems that are.
Yeah. I would say and again, I'm not on the board, this experience, HVAC systems to make our buildings healthy for our kids is so when the community groups, HVAC systems, secured front entrances, the middle school, yeah. So, and those are huge ticket items because they're across.
So if they just put those in a bond, what would that bond look like? Or like money wise?
We'd have to, if this bond were not to pass, then we're gonna have to get a committee back together and regroup, put it together, have an architectural firm come in, give all new estimates again. So.
It has on there, all local businesses will be notified to participate. What do you consider as local businesses and what is the parameter for those businesses to be in?
It's a good question. I would say, number one, if they were in district. Number two.
I would start district wide.
District wide.
Yeah.
I think there's some that, like I said, the Seaman district is just 2 miles away. So while they may not be taxpayers, if they contribute part of change, so those are the things that that the board's gonna have to look at. But first of all, if you're an in district, we have a lot of there's a lot of stuff. And again, I don't think Andy Surratt would mind me saying this because he said it at the last, just like the kitchen here at the high school. We had to have all new steps, secured stuff. They just donated, they just did that. But there's a lot of stuff that RNS can fabricate. They can do things like that. And everything that we do locally, we don't have to pay a percent to a construction manager to go out and put for a bid. So with the scope of this, there's a lot of stuff that, even with HVAC, while Justice Molenkamp from Chuck's Heating and Air, he was on our facilities planning that worked on this. He's like, I'm not a commercial. There's a lot of stuff he could do. That's the kind of stuff that we want to make sure that our local businesses have first shot at. They still have to be low bid.
We have an extremely talented community here, if you really think
I
about.
understand that. Just
Yeah.
asking what you consider. Well, because you also have HME and you have other
Yeah,
businesses
oh,
around
absolutely.
Yeah.
that are very
Absolutely.
close.
And HME has a large amount of students in this district.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I agree.
So,
Yep.
Going back to the track, 6 lane, is that basically so we can compete with other schools and have track meets?
8.
Oh, it's currently 6.
It's current,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Say,
Yeah, in most, a lot of school districts, so if you look around, don't think Holton, and I'm not sure Perry, but just about every other school in our league or area have 8 lanes. So school districts, the reason they go to 8-lane track meets is because you can run a track meet a lot faster with 2 extra lanes, and the kids aren't there as late, so more teams gravitate to go to school districts that have an 8-lane track. So when you tear it up, the cost to add the 2 lanes is a lot cheaper than what
So
to add 2 lanes, it's the cheapest to do it when you're tearing everything up.
when they talked about it, I was for a lower number. And what really set me over the edge was, I shouldn't say over the edge, but when they started breaking down, and I can't remember what it was, and I do not want to say a number, I don't want anybody to quote me on, but it was between 6 and 8 lanes. It wasn't much when it was broke down over the time frame. So that's what got me to jump up to like, okay, yeah. But it, in the scheme of things, when you're tearing out and doing it, it was just, it was in the scheme of it, not much.
I
But
just wanted to make sure there wasn't another slide.
yeah,
But we are.
but don't get me wrong, all these little things add up. That's how we're here. You know, well, that's not that much more. Well, that's not that much more. Well, you get about 10 of those, and then it's a lot more. So I do get it, but that was one of them that was. That's where we got to 8.
If it'll help you, I could only count to 6 back in the early place.
Well, that's why we stopped at 6.
I think something I've seen a lot of people complain about is the fact that going to 8 is one thing, but it's because of all of the other work that has to be done around it.
Yeah.
Because of the 8. Even if we were just doing from the 6 to 8, yeah, you're saying it's not that big of a difference, but it's because all of the stands, why do we have to do all of the stands and all of everything around it? It's because you can't go in because of the football field, you have to go out, and because of the state. I mean, can you give some info about why the cost is so high? Because it shouldn't make that big of a difference going from 6 to 8. It's the other work that we have to do around it.
Yeah, so when they put the light poles in 15 years ago, they intentionally set them back far enough in the event if we went to an 8-lane track. That's why they're set back far enough. To go to 8-lane, the home bleachers have to be moved back. So that's because the bleachers are right up on the track. Which,
And they have some structural stuff that needs addressed also.
yeah, so part of one of the reports, you know, when you look up underneath the home bleachers, you know, Tim and Matt and I looked at it because it was in one of the engineering reports. The frame, whether it was water that got in there and set over time and froze, and those square pipes are starting to pop. So there's structurally, there's stuff that has to be done to the home bleachers anyway. So, but you're right. It's not just going 6 to 8. You got to back up the bleachers if you're going to have to.
At least they were, shouldn't say smart, at least they had the foresight when they did the lights to move them back.
So are the bleachers even safe enough to give to our guests that we invite to our track?
Oh, we don't care.
They'll have to be fixed.
We-
Well, hey, we're not going to tell our guests.
Yeah.
Well, some of the guests
We
are
are.
family, so.
Okay, that's true. But there's structural things that are gonna, right now they're structurally, but at some point they're gonna have to be addressed anyway.
whole stand's gonna be moved to the other side, or just a portion of it, though? Maybe it's just the portion that's in good shape or whatever. I mean, do we gonna make that big of a stands for the visitors on the other side? The ones,
It would be less expensive.
just to.
There's more work in chopping up, rebuilding, pick up. Cause our visitor side, we do, and not that we wanna be the best host. But right now, I would say we're probably the worst host. When other communities come here, our visitor bleachers are pretty sad. So if you gotta move the bleachers, and we have to bring in bleachers to some of our games now. So the plan is to pick up the home bleachers, cause we gotta move them back. Just pick them up and set them on the visitor side, and then do a little bit larger, but newer bleachers set back on the home side. So that's what's in this.
2 comments, I think, over time, and I've lived here since '88. I think in past decisions, sometimes they've been short-sighted in like, why'd we build a building that's gonna dump water onto another building? So when we're thinking about dollars spent now, and nobody likes the number and nobody likes the, what it's gonna mean to our individual bottom lines. If you don't do things well when you do it, you're just gonna continue to pay for it down the road. I think, that's my opinion. And it's a tough pill to swallow. And the other thing that I think is true is that the quality of your facilities, and I know it's like athletics, we don't care about those, we care about Scholar Bowl, we care about it all, because the quality of your systems, your offerings, your structures is absolutely reflective of the quality on your community for attracting people buying, people building, people staying, people contributing to our tax base, which is a challenge of Jefferson County. We just don't have a large tax base, so we all end up paying more.
Yeah, the lake kills us,
But if
kills our district. That's a lot of ground that the government owns.
But on that note, the good thing about the lake is from again, an attraction standpoint or a supporting businesses who our businesses we're going to rely on to build some of these, help us with this and the tax base again, same thing. An 8-lane track, if we can host those bigger events, then people are buying fuel, they're buying, I was going to say they're going to buy groceries, they're not going to do that. But they're going to spend money and time in our community, which is usually a benefit to all of us. So it's tough though. It's a price tag.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, Casey?
Brought up Sunday that nobody asked today was, I know that the track is a big point of contention and kind of, most comfortable. I think we talked about what the difference in cost was per household. Could we ever find that number out? Like if the track was taken out, it wasn't included in the bond, like what the difference would be in cost to the taxpayer?
So I don't know. So you
I
can
just
back,
remember the 6 to 8 was what. I remember the difference of that was not very much. And that's why I was okay with going a little higher, but I don't remember the tracking now. You?
I remember that the board was split on that for a really long time. We were discussing, some wanted less, some wanted more than what we ended up as. We eventually looked at, okay, what is the cost per household with the track versus without? And on average for a $200,000 house, I believe it was less than $40 a year for with the track or without the track. And that I think is what brought most of us on board to go ahead and add the track now. And that's where we came up.
And you're talking about the 25 years.
Yes, yeah.
And I know it's brought up on Sunday about fundraising to do the track, to not do it, and library was quoted. And I asked a member of the board of the library, how long were they fundraising before they got their money to match? And they said about 12 or 13 years.
Yeah, it was a while.
I'm sorry to say, I don't know if our track has 12 or 13 more years in it. Now, I would be more than happy to help out and start doing any fundraising costs. Yeah, put me down for it. But if we didn't have it now, what intent would say if you took 6 years? New census comes out, maybe Meriden doesn't qualify for those same grants we have now, and we wouldn't be able to get that grant. I think that's something that needs to be in the thought.
When you also don't know if it's gonna grow in 6 years.
It is. My belief it is.
Are we just looking at the track, nothing with the football field? Or was there
No.
something with the football field involved in that too?
Now, the football field is nice. I mean, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the track
It's
around.
just the track around.
Yeah, the track around it, yeah, yeah, I remember my son was in high school, his sophomore year, they got to play on a turf field, I thought that was pretty good, but no, this is just, the track, the football fields and got several more years.
I might just say one more thing.
Okay.
Just from seeing the pictures on there, I understand exactly what a problem could be. Even those cracks in those cement blocks, they may only be 20 feet, but you're gonna have to go 20 more feet either direction possibly. So yeah, it's you got a lot of thought to go into that when the time comes when they start adding 20 foot.
Well,
I would say, Matt, Tim, watch the companies that are building this, okay? I've been around and I've dug footings, I've helped pour concrete, just because they're real reputable doesn't mean that you're getting the best,
Thank you.
All they gotta do is walk around. Yeah, I figured you would.
Well, the last thing I'll say, and then Matt can close, is, I've been in this for 36 years. The last 15 before I came here, I was at the State Department, and every bond issue across the state had to come across my desk. So I had to review them, and we have about the most complicated bond you're going to get, because we're not doing something, one or two things. We're doing a lot across a lot, and it's going to involve a lot of different, from concrete to electrical to HVAC to roofing to, it's a lot of it. And it's across a bunch of different, which makes it hard to put your arms around. So.
Question, if we pass a $17.5 million bond and we fundraise or we find grants, we could just pay it off quicker.
Yeah.
We can just
knock
it down.
Whatever, and we will continue, just like the city said, well, if it's to pass, then come back to the city.
Right.
That's 650,000. So now we're at, it's just that much less.
But the board has to vote to pay it off quicker.
Yeah, it
It'll have to be,
it is all handled by the board.
or they can say, well, this here is still part of this inclusive thing that we didn't really talk about during here, but it's still part of the scope of the project, and they can do that.
It's gotta be part of the project.
But
I
I
mean,
mean, the detail that was brought up here,
Yeah.
say, the branding of the outside of the buildings.
And you never know what's gonna come up in 25 years either.
But it has to be-
But that's what we're talking about with visuals, is letting you know.
But we couldn't use the 650 to fix the water issue. So the scope is pretty comprehensive. I mean, it's pretty.
Well, in the scope is drainage, water, and all.
This one, but I mean, the last one, that's
Oh,
why we've got
yeah.
650 sitting on our capital outlay.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't use it.
Yeah, because at the time, they didn't anticipate, we gotta have enough in there to take care of the water issue that we're not thinking about.
We're talking about when
Yeah.
we know to spend it.
And it's all to the board, that's why, and it's gotta be in public meeting.
Yeah.
And I'll leave you with this, because I'm a taxpayer myself. There's a lot of us on the school board that have older kids. That by the time this happens, it's may benefit 2 years of a centralized kitchen. You know, I get it. I do get it. I mean, it sucks. Taxes suck. But on the other hand, somebody did this for me when I went to school here. You know, we had a new school. I thought it was pretty cool. I think it's right that we take care of our buildings and take care of our community. Once again, we are the Jeff West community. You know, vote yes, vote no. But at the end of the day, everybody get along. You know, it sucks that it comes down to this, and it is hard. And trust me, being on the school board right now is not the funnest time to be on the school board. I mean, it's just not fun right now. But I do it because I believe in this community. You know, so vote yes, vote no, vote, but just vote. Vote how you see fit, but vote, please.
I just worry about some of these older people. When their spouse dies, they are gonna lose their home. I am. I don't know about anybody else, but I will lose my home if my husband dies. And because I'll be taxed to death.
It's a thing.
And I understand about
And you know, and I will say this, I work for the city. We ran the city efficient enough last year that we actually dropped down to. But don't worry, you didn't see it, the county took it right away.
Yeah.
You know, we're at the city, we're trying to do our job, and we ran the city efficient enough that we brought it down, but Jefferson County ran it right back up. You know, very few people up there at the county commission meeting going, what am I getting for my money? You know, here, we're trying to show you what you're gonna get. You know, there, and don't get me wrong, I work hand in hand with the county. Great people, great guy. But they're under the same tight budget constraints that we all are. It's all tight. And it's all taxpayers' money. But at some point in time, it's got to be allocated one other way. And this is one other way that it needs to. I'm also on the rural water board. We added $5 just as a maintenance fee because we don't want to raise water rates. You know, we can add $5 and you just got to do it little by little. Well, we hit the point in time here where it's not little by little anymore. Now it's a lot. And it's prolonged maintenance. Tim and the guys do their best job, but there's so many things that just add up. I was the first class to go all 4 years in school and I graduated in 2000. I sat in a chamber meeting and listened to when they were talking about the bond being paid off. And I'm like, hey, how's that school? I'm that old. I'm that old that it's already that time. It's already that it had become mature. I'm like, holy cow. So, like Brad said, it's not a once in a lifetime, but once in a long time decision. And it's up to you taxpayers to vote the way that you feel fit.
So Brad, with your knowledge on the bonds, when I was on the board, it was just kind of talk that you never let your bonds expire because we're at this. People's got used to having the no mill levies, lower mill levies, and now we're trying to hike them back up. And so we extended the bond back then. Is there a limit on how long you can extend bonds or add to it? And that's why they paid it off and didn't pursue one back then, the board didn't, or just the leadership at that time wasn't astute enough?
So I remember talking, so I had lunch with one of our former board members that was just going off the board at that time. He called me the other day and a few months ago, and I had lunch with him. He said, I kept telling him, you know, I'm getting ready to go off the board. The bond's going to expire in 2 years. Do not you've got to maintain that. To answer your question about how long you maintain it, that's up to the community. Nemaha Central up at Seneca, they have 2 bonds right now. They just, after about 10, 12 years, and one goes to pay off, they keep the project and they just maintain that. One thing, and I don't want to, you'd be like, why'd you tell us that? So, because it doesn't help, but at least, if we'd have maintained at that time, Jeff West received about 55% state aid on our bonds at that time. we get 55% state aid. We were talking on our capital outlay. We also got that same percent on our bonds. Were we to have that same state aid at 17.5 million, the state would be paying 55.5% of it. The legislature cut it. We get zero. And so facility, the state gives you funding to educate kids, but it's up to us around facilities because they no longer give any state aid for us unless you're one of the highest poverty districts in the state. You get a little. So we used to get 55 cents on the dollar, which, you know, so back when you saw that mill levy, you know, we were getting 55% state aid. So 13 mills would generate us about 30 million. But we just don't get that state aid anymore, which makes it harder. So that's a big difference from when we let it, but you can't go back, you know?
You know, and here's the other thing is the state average is 56. The new one would be 54. If you were to move somewhere else, you'd still be paying more in state and school taxes. I mean, we're still below the state average, which, don't get me wrong, I like it. You know, it's less taxes. Don't get me wrong, I like it.
I don't think it's a real good idea to compare school districts one to another because the tax base is so much different. It's like you said, the lake kills Jefferson County. And you're saying Nemot County, look how much farm grounds up there. That is vastly different farm ground than around here.
Yeah.
The lake is what kills Jefferson County.
It eats up a lot of area. Now, like Sandra said, there's quite a few developments around it, but it does.
But the poor pays absolutely no taxes on that.
We got it.
Water and the trailer.
My son just moved a mile into the Perry district. He didn't know at the time when they bought the property that was in Perry because it's just south of the park there on 237. And he was kidding. He goes, well, at least I won't have to pay for your bond. And I said, well, yeah, but you're paying for Perry's and they're at 57 mills. So he was like, you know, oops. So, but yeah, I mean, every tax base and everything's different.
Yeah, that lake, in my opinion, is a detriment to the county. It's nothing but a big mud hole now, as you can all see. They killed a bunch of farmers in the process.
Well, here's the thing. I want to thank you. You came and you learned. We will, none of us will say vote one way or the other. Our goal was to make sure you knew what was in the bond. And we record, we want as many people to have questions answered. And that's what but we know it doesn't, it's not right for everybody. Never is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question?
Don't want me.
You know I was gonna point at you. No, I'm just kidding. So, thank you. If something comes up, call me, reach out.